The 1990s were a wild decade for animation when networks experimented boldly and cartoon worlds collided in ways viewers barely understood. Some crossovers aired once, then vanished like lost broadcast legends, leaving kids convinced they had dreamed the whole thing. Today, we uncover 25 forgotten crossover events that reshaped childhood television and dissolved the boundaries between studios' audiences and entire universes. Number 25. South Park and Chef Aid cameos. 1998. South Park in the late 1990s thrived on chaos and shock, so it made sense that the Chef Aid special became a crossover many fans forget even existed. This televised event pulled animated versions of real musicians into the South Park universe, creating a surreal blend of satire and celebrity spectacle. Acts like Elton John, Ozzy Osbourne, and Rick James appeared as caricatured versions of themselves, performing within the intentionally crude aesthetic of the show. Kids who tuned in had never witnessed anything like it. A cartoon town suddenly filled with exaggerated rock icons, singing, battling, and arguing inside a storyline that mocked the music industry itself. What made this crossover unforgettable was how seamlessly the musicians were woven into the absurd emotional world of Chef. The episode functioned as both parody and affectionate tribute, using the animated format to push boundaries live action could never reach. Despite its cultural punch, Chef Aid quietly vanished from rotation in later years, leaving many viewers to wonder if the entire musical cartoon crossover had been a fever dream. Number 24. G.I. Joe, Extreme and Transformers Beast, Wars, Promo Crossover, 1996. This was not a traditional narrative crossover. Instead, it was a bizarre hybrid promotional event tying two franchises that had little in common beyond shared toy aisles. During the mid-1990s, networks aired interstitial segments where characters from G.I. Joe Extreme appeared alongside Transformers Beast Wars icons. The tone was chaotic, a gritty paramilitary team meeting highly stylized techno-animals in short segments that defied logic. These clips usually appeared between episodes during themed advertising blocks. For kids, the experience was mind-bending. Seeing human soldiers speak directly to mechanical beasts suggested a universe far broader and stranger than anything either show explored independently. Because the crossover was limited to promos, it faded from memory, quickly leaving fans with vague recollections of soldiers yelling at robots in a void-like setting. Even today, footage is difficult to find, turning this forgotten partnership into a myth-like relic of 1990s syndication culture. Number 22. Aladdin and Hercules, the animated series, 1999. Disney rarely crossed universes outside official films, so when characters from Aladdin and Hercules met in their respective animated series, fans were stunned. This event brought Agrabah and ancient Greece into a shared storyline filled with magic monsters and clashing mythologies. Aladdin and Jasmine encountered Hercules and his allies, creating comedic sparks and heroic misunderstandings. Genie and Philoctetes particularly stole scenes with fast-paced banter and exaggerated displays of power. The crossover embraced adventure spectacle and heartfelt lessons about destiny and teamwork. It felt like an early precursor to modern shared universes, yet it aired without major promotion. Episodes from both series connected loosely, forming an unofficial mini-arc that later disappeared from reruns. For many viewers, the memory of Genie interacting with Olympian gods feels unreal. Yet the crossover truly happened and remains one of the rarest Disney television experiments of the decade. Number 21. The Flintstones and the Jetsons syndicated crossover revival, 1991. Although the original Flintstones meets Jetsons special debuted earlier, Hanna-Barbera revived the concept in the early 1990s through syndication blocks. Updated bumpers and promotional clips showed both families acknowledging each other as if they existed in an ongoing shared universe. These brief segments created confusion, wonder, and nostalgia as futuristic Jetsons technology appeared alongside prehistoric Flintstones' charm. Viewers loved watching George Jetson and Fred Flintstone exchange bewildered expressions across time and animation styles. The crossovers were never part of full episodes, but they shaped the way an entire generation perceived the relationship between Bedrock and Orbit City. These revived interactions served as light-hearted reminders that animated worlds could collide through the power of television scheduling alone. Number 20. Pinky and the Brain and Freakazoid, 1996. Few crossovers captured the unpredictability of 1990s animation like the moment Pinky and the Brain invaded the manic universe of Freakazoid. Freakazoid was already a hyper-chaotic superhero parody built on surreal humor and split-second gags. Bringing the ever-scheming Brain and the eternally confused Pinky into this environment created a comedic collision unlike anything Kids WB had attempted. The Brain arrived determined to seize control of the digital world while Pinky stumbled through Freakazoid's reality-bending landscapes. Their deadpan intellectual tone clashed hilariously with Freakazoid's non-stop absurdity, creating a comedic rhythm that felt experimental even for the decade. The appearance was brief but iconic, reminding viewers that the Kids WB universe was fluid strange and held together mostly by creative impulse. After reruns, faded fans were left with a hazy memory of Brain lecturing a blue-skinned hero about global domination inside a realm of total nonsense. It remains one of the boldest crossovers of its era. Number 19. Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series. The World's Finest Event, 1997. This was among the few crossovers that felt monumental rather than playful. When Batman and Superman united for World's Finest, it was marketed as a rare animated event, yet its long-term impact still feels underestimated. The tone was dramatic, grounded in noir aesthetics and emotional depth. Batman entered Metropolis with suspicion, while Superman struggled to understand the Dark Knight's methods. Their uneasy partnership blossomed into respect as they confronted Lex Luthor and the Joker, two villains whose competing styles amplified the intensity of the story. The crossover created the foundation for the DC animated universe, which later linked shows and films for years to come. For many viewers, it was the first time two major heroes shared animated space with cinematic gravity. Although widely remembered, the full extent of its creative influence is often forgotten, making it one of the most important crossovers of the 1990s. Number 18. Johnny Bravo and the Powerpuff Girls, 1999. Cartoon Network was fearless in the late 1990s, and nowhere was that more obvious than in the chaotic crossovers between Johnny Bravo and the Powerpuff Girls. Johnny's self-absorbed personality collided with the heroic innocence of Blossom Bubbles and Buttercup, creating instant comedy. His attempts to charm Townsville citizens often resulted in explosions, mishaps, and superpowered scoldings. Meanwhile, the girls treated Johnny like a misguided grown-up who needed supervision more than affection. These crossovers appeared in specials promos and brief cameo scenes, showing how interconnected the Cartoon Network universe had quietly become. Children watching back then did not always understand whether these events were official canon, but they remembered the sight of Johnny running terrified from laser blasts or begging the girls for dating advice. Over time, the episodes disappeared from common rotation, leading some fans to doubt their memory. Yet these chaotic encounters truly happened and remain gems of 1990s cartoon culture. Number 17. Courage, the Cowardly Dog, and Ed, Ed and Eddie, April Fool's crossover, 1999. In one of Cartoon Network's strangest programming stunts, Courage, the Cowardly Dog appeared alongside the Eds during an April Fool's broadcast. Rather than a full episode, the crossover manifested through surreal bumpers, where the Eds wandered into Courage's eerie landscapes, while Courage stumbled into the chaotic suburban cul-de-sac. The tone shifted wildly between horror comedy and outright confusion. Cartoon Network leaned into the prank vibe crafting moments where Courage screamed at bizarre cul-de-sac inventions while the Eds tried to rationalize terrifying monsters. Nothing connected narratively, yet the visual mashups created a sense of universes colliding in real time. Kids who witnessed the event often misremember it as a dream or fan animation because it aired only once in its original format. That fleeting quality made the crossover legendary and nearly impossible to verify without archival footage. Number 16. Dexter's Laboratory and the Powerpuff Girls shared shorts. 1996. Before Cartoon Network solidified its identity, the channel experimented with anthology blocks, like What a Cartoon, where creators tested ideas for future series. Dexter's Laboratory and the Powerpuff Girls emerged from this environment and occasionally crossed paths in early shorts, promotional segments, and anthology episodes. Dexter's hyper-scientific world collided with Townsville's superhero chaos in scenes where experiments exploded into superpowered misunderstandings. These moments hinted at a shared universe long before crossovers became mainstream strategy. For children watching late-night reruns, it was startling to see Blossom appear in Dexter's lab, or Dexter analyze Townsville monsters with clinical fascination. These fragments of crossover mythology helped establish the collaborative, creative spirit that came to define Cartoon Network. Though rarely discussed today, these early interactions shaped fan perception of both shows and revealed how intertwined their development truly was. Number 15. Sonic, the Hedgehog, Satam, and Adventures of Sonic Meta Crossover Gags. 1993. During the 1990s, Sega released two wildly different Sonic cartoons at the same time. Adventures of Sonic was slapstick, chaotic, and comedic, while Sonic Satam was dark, serialized, and emotionally heavy. Most kids never understood how these shows could coexist, yet animators sneaked in meta-jokes, acknowledging the alternate universe versions of Sonic. These nods appeared as brief silhouettes background, cameos, and self-aware lines, suggesting Sonic somehow sensed another version of himself living a completely different tone of life. Fans later called these moments dimensional echoes. For children, the jokes created confusion and fascination. How could a goofy cartoon hero and a rebellion-hardened freedom fighter both exist in the same broadcasting universe? Because these cross-references were small and scattered, many viewers forgot them entirely. Yet they proved that even early Sonic animation embraced multiverse thinking long before the concept became mainstream entertainment. These forgotten gags remain a strange but charming artifact of 1990s cartoon experimentation. Number 14. Beavis and Butthead and Daria MTV Universe Connection. 1997. Daria began as a supporting presence in Beavis and Butthead, a sharp contrast to the boys' chaotic stupidity. When MTV launched Daria as a standalone series, they acknowledged her origins, subtly weaving references to Highland and the idiotic duo who tormented her academically. While not a traditional crossover, the connection between both shows created one of the earliest examples of a mature animated shared universe. Daria's world was grounded, cynical, and emotionally layered, while Beavis and Butthead lived inside exaggerated, noisy nihilism. The tonal contrast made the connection feel surreal, as if two incompatible realities shared the same history. Occasional jokes in Daria hinted that the boys still existed somewhere wreaking havoc, but the storytelling remained ambiguous. This quiet crossover went largely unnoticed at the time, yet it deeply influenced how fans interpreted both shows. It demonstrated that animated sitcoms could share continuity even while serving entirely different audiences and tones. Number 13. Garfield and U.S. Acres, Farm Friends, Crossover Specials. 1991. Throughout Garfield and Friends, the show regularly shifted between Garfield's suburban misadventures and the barnyard chaos of U.S. Acres. But in the early 1990s, several specials and extended episodes brought both worlds together, forming unexpected crossovers where Garfield directly interacted with Orson Booker Sheldon and other farm-based characters. These segments played with tone, freely merging Garfield's dry humor with the energetic optimism of the farm animals. Seeing Garfield, a creature defined by sarcasm, apathy, and lasagna obsession, wander through cornfields while trading quips with hyperactive farm animals created an atmosphere that felt both uncanny and imaginative. For young viewers, the merging of both settings suggested a larger cartoon ecosystem where even characters with wildly different comedic styles shared the same universe. Once the specials stopped airing, the crossovers faded from collective memory, leaving many fans wondering whether they had truly seen Garfield chatting with a talking egg. These segments stand as charming remnants of early 1990s television creativity. Number 12. Looney Tunes and Space Jam characters, WB interstitials, 1996. Space Jam became a cultural phenomenon in the mid-1990s, yet many forget that Warner Bros. Created crossover interstitials connecting the Looney Tunes universe with the film's basketball-themed reality. These short segments aired during kids' WB programming blocks, showing Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and other classic characters interacting with Space Jam versions of themselves or referencing the Monstars invasion. The result was a lighthearted but strangely meta crossover where characters commented on events happening outside their traditional cartoon world. For kids, it felt as though Space Jam had permanently altered the Looney Tunes timeline. These interstitials disappeared quickly after the film's promotional cycle ended, causing memories of them to blur over time. Today, they remain elusive glimpses of a brief moment when Warner Bros. Treated Space Jam not as a standalone film, but as a full extension of the Looney Tunes universe. Number 11. Sabrina, the Animated Series, and Archie's Weird Mysteries, 1999. While Sabrina existed in the broader Archie Comics world, animated crossovers were rare until 1999, when Sabrina the Animated Series intersected with Archie's Weird Mysteries. These episodes revealed that Riverdale and Sabrina's magical hometown shared a common universe blending teen comedy with supernatural chaos. Sabrina's spells collided with Riverdale mysteries, creating comedic misunderstandings while Archie, Jughead, and Betty tried to rationalize magical disasters erupting around them. The crossover allowed both shows to lean into their strengths, Riverdale's quirky problem-solving and Sabrina's whimsical chaos. Fans responded enthusiastically, yet reruns became inconsistent, and the crossover quietly faded from collective memory. Still, it represents one of the late 1990s most ambitious attempts to merge two beloved animated worlds without sacrificing tone or charm. Number 9. Tiny Toon Adventures and Animaniacs, Cameo Crossover Chaos, 1993. Both shows were created by the same animation powerhouse, yet existed in slightly different universes. That did not stop writers from planting cameos, shared jokes, and direct interactions throughout episodes and specials. Sometimes the Animaniacs appeared as chaotic background intrusions, disrupting Tiny Toon scenes with their signature high-energy antics. Other times, the Tiny Toons wandered into Animaniacs territory, acknowledging their status as younger spiritual successors. These moments played with studio hierarchy, breaking the fourth wall and hinting at a larger meta-universe ruled by cartoon logic. For kids, these cameos felt like unexpected rewards, an acknowledgement that they were watching two branches of the same comedy empire. Because the interactions were brief and scattered, many fans forgot the extent of this crossover history. Yet these moments helped define Warner Bros. Animation as a self-aware playground where characters could pop in at any moment and rewrite the rules. Number 8. Scooby-Doo and Batman, Updated, 1990s, Crossover Specials, 1994. Scooby-Doo and Batman had crossed paths in earlier decades, but the 1990s revived their partnership through syndicated specials, updated animations, and promotional blocks. For new viewers, it felt like a fresh discovery seeing the Dark Knight join Mystery Inc. on eerie investigations, blending grounded detective work with supernatural misdirection. Batman's stoic presence contrasted beautifully with Scooby and Shaggy's cowardly antics, creating comedic timing that felt natural and exciting. The crossovers allowed Batman to operate in a lighter tone while giving Mystery Inc. a sense of expanded stakes. Because these updated specials aired irregularly, many fans misremember when or how they first saw Batman standing beside Scooby at a haunted mansion doorway. Yet these crossovers played an important role in keeping both franchises relevant, bridging generations, and expanding their mythologies in ways viewers barely noticed. Number 6. Rugrats and the Wild Thornberrys, early cross-promo segments. 1998. Before their feature film collaboration, Rugrats Go Wild arrived. Nickelodeon hinted at a shared universe through early cross-promotional segments in the late 1990s. These bumpers portrayed Tommy, Chucky, and Angelica reacting to mysterious wildlife clues that referenced the Thornberry family. Meanwhile, Eliza Thornberry would comment on odd human behavior, clearly inspired by the toddlers. These small scenes suggested that both shows existed in the same timeline long before the idea of a full movie crossover materialized. Children watching Nickelodeon marathons caught glimpses of these hints, but because they aired sporadically, the memories became fragmented. Many fans forgot entirely that the groundwork for the movie crossover was planted years earlier. These promos stand as clever early examples of subtle universe building used to excite audiences and foreshadow future collaborations. Number 5. DuckTales and Darkwing, Duck Shared Universe Crossover. 1991. Though both shows existed in the greater Disney afternoon landscape, they rarely crossed paths directly, which made the few moments of true crossover magic unforgettable. In select episodes and promotional segments, Darkwing Duck characters referenced Duckburg, while DuckTales icons such as Launchpad McQuack bridged the gap between both worlds. Launchpad's presence created comedic tension as he juggled loyalties between Scrooge McDuck's treasure hunts and Darkwing's chaotic crime-fighting missions. Occasionally, Darkwing would comment humorously about Duckburg's wealth and mysteries, hinting at larger unseen adventures. For fans, it felt like two parallel universes, gently aligning without fully merging. These brief intersections faded from syndication, quickly causing many viewers to doubt they happened at all. Yet the crossovers played an essential role in shaping fan theories, suggesting Disney had built an interconnected animated universe long before shared universes became industry standards. Duckburg and St. Canard became spiritual sister cities, linked by humor danger and the unpredictable talents of Launchpad. Number 3. Scooby-Doo and Johnny Bravo. 1997. This episode became legendary because it combined Mystery Inc.'s ghost-chasing formula with Johnny Bravo's vain comedic blunders. The crossover placed Johnny within a classic haunted house storyline where he attempted to impress Daphne while ignoring every obvious danger sign. Scooby and Shaggy's cowardly antics contrasted brilliantly with Johnny's delusional bravado. Meanwhile, Velma remained unimpressed by Johnny's attempts to solve mysteries without logic. The humor reached a perfect balance, blending Johnny's exaggerated ego with Scooby's timeless monster chases. For many viewers, it was the first major Cartoon Network crossover they ever witnessed, and it instantly cemented itself as a cult favorite. While the episode reran occasionally, it gradually slipped out of regular rotation, leading younger fans to hear about it, mostly through older siblings and nostalgic discussions. The crossover remains a shining example of how two completely different comedic tones can merge into a seamless, chaotic adventure. Number 2. The Simpsons and the Critic. 1995. The Simpsons rarely welcomed outside universes, which made Jay Sherman's arrival from the Critic both surprising and controversial. The crossover, titled A Star, is Burns placed Jay as a guest film critic judging Springfield's amateur movie festival. Homer resented him, Marge defended him, and Jay's cynical style clashed hilariously with Springfield's exaggerated charm. Unlike many crossovers, this one sparked behind-the-scenes tensions as some creators felt it promoted another network's show too openly. Despite these disagreements, the episode became a cult classic, showcasing a sharp comedic clash between two distinct animated worlds. Jay's intellectual humor contrasted perfectly with Springfield's everyday absurdity, creating moments still quoted by fans today. Because the Critic faded from mainstream memory, many younger viewers forget that Jay ever visited Springfield. Yet the episode remains one of the most unique and daring crossovers of the eon. 1990s. Number 1. Animaniacs and Pinky and the Brain Kids, W Universe crossover, 1993. This crossover holds the top spot because it cemented the identity of the kids' WB universe. Animaniacs introduced Pinky and the Brain as supporting characters, yet their popularity led to a spin-off that still maintained deep ties to the original show. Throughout the decade, crossover skits, shared episodes, and unexpected cameos reinforced the idea that the Warner Studio lot was a living, breathing universe where experimental comedy thrived. Pinky and the Brain's dynamic, the Brain's seriousness, and Pinky's randomness played beautifully off the Animaniacs' chaotic sketches. The crossover moments reminded viewers that all these characters existed side by side, plotting, conquering, dancing, singing, and causing mayhem. Even though these interactions were scattered across multiple seasons, they defined the shared humor DNA that made Kids WB unforgettable. Without these crossovers, the network's iconic identity would never have reached the same cultural impact. The 1990s created a chaotic experimental playground where cartoon worlds collided without warning, shaping memories that blur into myth. These forgotten crossovers reveal how bold networks once were merging tones, humor, and universes freely. Revisit them, and you rediscover a decade when animation embraced limitless imagination. More hidden lists await whenever you are ready.